Is Airbnb oversaturated in the Dominican Republic? Or is it the right time for you to invest? I'm gonna go through a bunch of stats breaking down not only Punta Cana, but I'll touch on other parts of the country and I'll compare it to another market that's hot in the United States right now. And in the end, I'll give you my conclusion on what you should do when considering investing down here. Let's dive in. What's going on, everybody? My name's Jamie Gruber. I moved down here to the Dominican Republic in August of 2022. And on this channel, I share all of my experiences, hoping to help any of you that are looking to invest or move down here as well. Airbnb is all the talk down here. Is it the right time to invest? Should I invest? If I buy a property, can I Airbnb it? Which are all valid questions. What really piqued my interest, I saw this article, I'll pop it up right here, and it says that 72% of tourists are using hotels in the Dominican Republic post-pandemic. So that means since 2020, of all the tourists that come down here, 72% of them stay in hotels. Before the pandemic, 2019, 2018, it was 92%. So for every 100 people that came here in 2019, 92 of them stayed in a hotel. And today, for every 100 people, only 72 stay in a hotel. What's also interesting is that right now, the Dominican Republic has a shortage of 30,000 hotel rooms in order to meet the demand for all the tourists coming.
But wait, Jamie, what are you talking about? You just said that less people are using hotels.
No, I said less of a percentage are using hotels. Let's look at these numbers. We'll pull it up on screen. Back in 2019, tourism was around 7.55 million total visitors to the Dominican Republic. If we take that 7.55 million and multiply it by 92%, that means there were 6.9 million tourists staying in hotels in 2019. In 2023, there were nearly 11 million visitors to the Dominican Republic, 72% of which are using hotels. So a much lower percentage of a larger number. But if you do the math, 11 million times 72%, that's almost 7.9 million visitors staying in hotels. So while the percentage is 20 points lower, it's actually a million more tourists looking for hotel rooms. It's that crazy math, man. Some of you will point out accurately that not all of those 11 million or 7 million people are tourists. Many are people coming to visit family that aren't going to stay in a hotel. Very true. If you look at the percentage in 2019 of people that are not tourists versus the percentage in 2023 of people that are not tourists, it's about the same. So while not every one of those visitors are using hotels or Airbnbs, the percentage of people coming to the Dominican that are tourists using Airbnbs and hotels is the same. Made sense in my mind. Hopefully it makes sense in yours. Let me know in the comments if it doesn't. By the way, before I get into some of the nitty-gritty, please be sure to subscribe. It helps you grow the channel, helps to support the channel, and hopefully this is content that's really valuable for you. All right, so if we've got more demand for hotel rooms and not enough supply, does that mean that Airbnb and short-term rental is benefiting from all of that? Maybe, but let's look at some of the stats for the area. I'm going to pull up from AirDNA this outline. Now, this is for the entire province of La Altagracia, which includes Punta Cana, but a little bit more, like Higüey and other areas. But still, the concentration is Punta Cana. All right, so you can see is about $2.5 million in total revenue, which is up 7% year over year. The occupancy rate is 41%, which I'll give you some context on that in just a little bit. And the average daily rate, this is a little weird, it says 21,500 for a daily rate. I think there's one of two things in play here, but let's look at a couple of other things. There's currently 6,200 total active listings in the entire province, and that occupancy rate of 41%, it's climbed up to 53% recently in March of 2024, which I'm assuming March is a high season for Airbnb volume generally, but we'll take a look at that. Now, 21,500 a day, there's one of two things, like I said. Either it's this. Volalto Group is the largest listing source on Airbnb, it looks like. And if you're not familiar with Volalto, they are a luxury home provider. I've rented a house from them for a retreat that costs $5,000 a night, but this is a 9-bedroom mansion built specifically for retreats. And they have properties like that and more. So that 21,500 a day might be because that particular company is driving the price up, or that's pesos. And if it's pesos, the average daily rate would be, if you do the math, about $370. That still feels high, but also might be as a result of Volalto pulling up the price on the average night. Somebody more adept at this might know better than me. I'd love to hear your comments. Just drop it down below and let's have a discussion on it. Educate all of us. All right, but 41% occupancy, just as a non-Airbnb guy, that doesn't sound great when I think about it. And with a whole bunch of listings, 6,200, and that amount being 36% more listings this year than last year, it says to me that we might be reaching a point of oversaturation. Maybe. But now let's look at this market. I Googled top markets for Airbnb 2024, and Spring Hill, Florida came up as is one of the top ones on each list that I found. Not number one, but one of the top ones. So you can see some of the stats here. $244 average nightly rate. The occupancy rate is at 57%, 16 total points higher than the entire province of La Altagracia. Down here, you can see they have 600 active listings, and that's up 26% year over year. And we look at their occupancy at 57%. You can see similarly in March, it's up to 79%, meaning March is a high season. Now, we are comparing the entire province of La Altagracia with one city in Spring Hill, so I expect there to be more listings, but the data is much more specific, at least what I found in AirDNA, for US markets than it is for more niche Dominican markets. That said, there's 10 times the listings in La Altagracia, and while it and Spring Hill, Florida are both up significantly, La Altagracia is up 10% more, 10 points more than Spring Hill in number of listings year over year, and yet occupancy is still over 40% compared to the nearly 60% in Spring Hill. I don't know. To me, that says that there's still decent demand for Airbnb in Punta Cana. Now, if we dig deeper into these numbers, if we can get even more into it, if I had the pro account for AirDNA or if I were in this space, I could probably analyze the right markets, the right spots, the right type of listings, and so on that get the best occupancy within the Punta Cana submarket. And by the way, if you look at all the markets, Santo Domingo, Santiago, so on, the numbers don't look too dissimilar as far as occupancy rate, increase in listings, and the seasonality around occupancy rate. But I think it boils down to the same thing. Within the market, there are submarkets and certain types of properties and certain types of hosts that are doing better than others. Some are doing 70, 80% occupancy, some are doing 12. So we're going to boil all that down. What does it mean? Should you buy an Airbnb property in Punta Cana, in Dominican Republic, anywhere? Here's my take. The factors influencing yes are the fact that tourism is growing, on pace for 12 million visitors this year. Hotels have lacking supply compared to the demand for hotel rooms. As a percentage, there are more people now staying in Airbnb and short-term rentals versus hotels than have ever in the past. The Dominican Republic has become much safer and more attractive to Americans and Europeans and Canadians as a destination outside of the all-inclusive. And despite the massive amount of listings, there's still decent occupancy considering how many more listings have come online in the last year. However, there's a lot of development here right now. I say here, but I'll be honest, I'm in Austin, Texas, if you couldn't tell by my surroundings, filming this for all of you, but let's just pretend I'm there and I'll call it here. There are multiple projects coming online. Vista Cana is building and there'll be 10, 20,000 units in there eventually. Not all for Airbnb, but a lot. Cocotal has plenty of Airbnb. Primavera, I think is how you say it, will have Airbnb. Costa Cana, Cap Cana. There's a lot of development, not only in Punta Cana, but all around the country, especially in beach towns like Puerto Plata, Cabarete, Santo Domingo, and so on. So if you're serious about buying to Airbnb property down here, I think this is what you need to do. One, find your blue ocean. If you're not familiar with the idea of a blue ocean strategy, think about sharks. If there's a lot of sharks in one area and they're eating up all the stuff, it's a red ocean. There's a lot of competition there. You want to find your way to a blue ocean. This might mean higher end luxury type of places, or it could mean things like tree houses or eco lodges or small houses, tiny houses, something like that. Find your blue ocean rather than just being yet another condo in the same exact complex that has 400 other listings in it. Second, you need to be a professional at the business of short-term rental to stand out. The people that are doing really well, they've figured some things out. Professional photos, great service, amenities that maybe are offered that other Airbnbs don't. Too many people are just buying a condo and saying,
it's going to cost me money, but I'll just offset it with Airbnb.
Those are the ones that are going to get hurt. But here's the biggie. To me, this is the end of it all. I say buy the condo you want. Buy the spot that you want. Get it wherever you think it's going to be great. Make it your vacation rental, and you can Airbnb it when you need to. But from a budgeting perspective, don't count on the Airbnb income. If you're going to buy a project for $150,000, you're going to put 20% down. That's 30 grand. You're going to pay another 30% over the life of the build. That's another 45,000 over, say, 2 to 3 years that you're going to pay in monthly installments. And then you'll have about $75,000 left over that you need to pay at the end, be it through a loan or paying it in cash. If you get a loan or you pay it in cash, make sure it's something you can afford, even if you never Airbnb it. Make Airbnb the bonus if you are a casual buyer. If your intent is really like, I really want a place down there, and oh, by the way, I can Airbnb it, cool, as long as you can afford it, if it never Airbnbs, if it never rents out. The other option is, and I've seen landlords do this, is you can sign an agreement with a renter to rent your place long-term to cover all of your costs, but they need to vacate for a 2 to 3 week period throughout the year when you intend to visit. I have friends, this is no BS, that rented houses, multiple of them, especially in Punta Cana Resort, where the agreement was they are the long-term renter except for the 3 weeks between Christmas and mid-January. They had to literally get out and go to a hotel or go back to the US or something like that for those 3 weeks from the home that they live in year-round, because the homeowner recognizes that they can make a ton of money in those 3 weeks. That's their motivation for doing it. You might be the opposite. It might be like, that's actually when I want to visit. I want to come down Christmas through mid-January. So you're going to sign a lease agreement, long-term renter. I don't have to worry about Airbnb or all this other stuff. But in the lease, we're going to sign that you agree that you're going to vacate this unit that I bought for these 2 or 3 weeks when I want to come visit. I say to people all the time, please do not throw all your money in here hoping that you'll get a return. You've got to be really, really good at what you do in the Airbnb space in order to compete with all the players that are in the market right now. That said, there is still great potential if you are a serious buyer and serious host. So I wouldn't sleep on it. Now, if you're wondering how you buy a place, like what are the conditions under which I mentioned, 20% down, 30% more and all of that. You want to know how to buy or how you buy something in place for that matter, just go right to this video here and I go through all of that, how you buy property here in the Dominican Republic. And hit that like button. Please subscribe. Would love to have you follow this channel. I appreciate your support.